What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Welcome to 32 Teams, where I'll review all 32 teams in the NHL after 2022-23 season. This series will consist of an overview, regular season, postseason, player stats, team stats, and my overall opinion about the team. We finished Western Conference and the Eastern Conference, and now we are moving on to the Stanley Cup finalists. Today, we're talking about the Florida Panthers. Let's get started. The Florida Panthers, an NHL team founded in 1993, played the 29th season in 2022-2023. The Panthers have played at FLAA Live Arena for 24 seasons. Under new head coach Paul Maurice, the Panthers are in their inaugural campaign. On April 11, 2023, the Panthers earned a playoff spot against the Buffalo Sabres and Pittsburgh Penguins both suffered losses. The Panthers were scheduled to play the Boston Bruins, who had broken the NHL record for the most wins and points in a season, after narrowly securing a wild card position in the playoffs. One of the biggest surprises in NHL history was pulled off by the Panthers, who rallied from a 3-1 series deficit to win the game in overtime in Game 7. After that, the Panthers defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs to make history by winning the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 27 years. The Panthers would subsequently defeat the Carolina Hurricanes in a rout to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since 1996. There, the Panthers were beaten in 5 games by the Vegas Golden Knights. The best player during the season and playoffs had a Matt Tkachuk. Tkachuk finished third in the voting for the Hart Trophy, producing a career high and team-leading 109 points, the most ever by a player in their first season with the Panthers. He also never went longer than 3 games without a point throughout the regular season. Each and every shift, Tkachuk demonstrated his distinct style of grit, tenacity, and attitude. Since Sidney Crosby accomplished the feat in 2005-06, he became the only player to reach both 100 points and 100 penalty minutes in the same season. The Panthers started the season with a 3-1 win against the Islanders. They lost their first game against the Bruins 5-3 2 games later. They weren't too bad in October. They went 5-3-1, which was pretty decent. Though in November, it was a little bit harder. They had trouble and couldn't win that many games. In November, they had a record of 5-6-3, which wasn't the greatest. People had high expectation for the Panthers. They had 58 wins and was the best team in the Eastern Conference last season. It didn't look the same team, which was not a great look. In December, it didn't get any better. They lost 8 regulation games and had a monthly record of 6-8-0. They played their last game of the year against the Hurricanes and lost 4-0. Their 2022 year was 16-17-4, which isn't that good. This was a huge difference from last year, where they won 27-4. They aren't as good, and making playoffs is questionable by how they are playing. The Panthers let their fans down, and if they continue to play like this, they won't clinch the playoffs. They need to change their game up. In January, it was much better. They had a record of 8-5-2, and it looked like they could change this around. In February, it was still good. They beat big teams such as Boston and Tampa. They had a record of 6-4-0. Although they were good months, they had to be better since they were still far from making the playoffs. March was pretty good. They had 2 3-game winning streaks, which constantly helped the record. But they had a 4-game losing streak by the end of the month. By March 27th, they were close but not yet in the playoffs. The next 8 games had to be good. Were they good? Heck yeah, they were. They had a 6-game winning streak that helped a lot and ended their streak to an overtime loss against Maple Leafs, but it was enough because the next day later, the Panthers qualified for the playoffs after the Buffalo Sabres and Pittsburgh Penguins each lost their games. The Panthers were doubted to make the playoffs halfway through the season, but they showed that they will never quit and they will keep fighting. They played their last game of the season against the Hurricanes and lost 6-4. Their overall season record was 42, 32, and 8, or 92 points, which clinched them the second place wild card spot. The Panthers are playing against the first place team in the Eastern Conference, which are the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins just had the best season in NHL history with 65 wins. Bruins are an unstoppable team and it will be very, very difficult to beat this team. The Panthers are a massive underdogs, and if the Panthers win, the NHL world will go crazy. In Game 1, the Bruins will win a calm 3-1. Not surprising. In Game 2, though, there was a huge surprise. The Panthers scored 6 and win the game 6-3. This was very surprising that the fact that Panthers were able to score 6. It was a big ego boost for the Panthers and gave them momentum for the other games. In Game 3, the momentum wasn't large enough, and the Bruins win 4-2. In Game 4, it was a lot worse. The Panthers concede 6 goals and lose 6-2. The Panthers are now on 3-1 in this series and needed an epic comeback of 3 wins in a row to win this series. One more game and they're out of the playoffs. In Game 5, it is close. It is 3-3 and it goes to overtime. In overtime, the Panthers win, keeping them alive. The series isn't over yet. In Game 6 is a high-scoring game. After the first second period, the Panthers lead 3-2. When the third period, the Bruins scored three, and the Panthers score only one, giving the Bruins a lead 5-4. They are expected to keep this lead to the end of the game, but the Panthers are able to score three more goals, giving them the lead and the win, forcing a Game 7. The Panthers win back to back and only need one win to make this comeback. Game 7 is a win or go home, and they need to win. Game 7 starts, and the Panthers are score the first goal. Nobody else scores, which gives them the lead 1-0. In the second period, the Panthers score another, adding to the lead. The Bruins score one in the second period. Unfortunately, in the third period, the Bruins scored two more, now giving them the lead. It was tough for them, but they needed to come back. There was a minute left. The Bruins were sure to win the series, but the Panthers had other plans. 1 minute left in the game, the Panthers score, tying up the game and forcing another overtime game. The Bruins are stunned and they have to play another overtime. The Bruins have so much motivation for this series to shock the whole world and to make it to the second round. So much on the line. In the overtime, the game is tied, but in 8 minutes and 35 seconds into the game, into the overtime, Carter Verhage scored for the Panthers, giving them the series. The Panthers make the ultimate comeback and beat the best team the NHL has ever seen. The Panthers are now on fire and are feeling like the kings of the world. But the story doesn't end yet, as they still have plenty of games to go. In the second round, they're to play against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs have just beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, who played in the Stanley Cup three times in the last three seasons. The Maple Leafs are a great team. It will be tough to defeat. Again, the Panthers are underdogs. Can they win the other series? Can they win another series? Let's see. In game one, the Panthers win 4-2. In game two, the game is close, but the Panthers win it again 3-2. The Panthers are currently doing well and are leading 2-0. In game three, the game is 2-2 and goes to overtime. And overtime, the Panthers score, now giving them a 3-0 lead. This is a very good. The momentum they have is most likely why they're doing so good. The Panthers are one game away from advancing to the conference finals. In Game 4, the Leafs improve their game and are able to stay alive and win a close 2-1 game. The Panthers are still in a good spot. The Game 5 happens and it is really close. The game was tied 2-2 and went to overtime, and overtime the Panthers score, winning them the series again in overtime and eliminating the Leafs from the playoffs. The Panthers playoff run is still alive and they are one series away from making the Stanley Cup final. In the conference finals, they are to play against the Carolina Hurricanes, who just beat the Devils in 5 games. The Hurricanes are very good and are on fire from the overtime win they just won. Both teams want to be in the Stanley Cup. This will be a fun series to watch. In Game 1, both teams score 2 goals and the game goes to overtime. The first overtime happens and no goals occur, which leads to the second overtime. In the second overtime, nobody scores again, meaning there has to be a third overtime. And in third overtime, nobody scores again, meaning there has to be a fourth overtime. Finally, in the fourth overtime with 13 seconds left, nearly played the entire fourth overtime, the Panthers score, giving them the win. This was such a tough, big win for Florida as they played 2 2/3 worth of a game in a single game, exhausting them but able to get the win. In game two is another close game that goes overtime. Now the Panthers win again. In game three is very close game. The Panthers score in the second period, and the rest of the game is very close, but the Panthers are able to hold on the lead and win 1-0. The Panthers are up 3-0 in the series again and are only one win away from the Stanley Cup final. In game 4, the Panthers are up 2-0, but the Canadiens come back tying it 2-2. Then in the second period, the Panthers score again, making it 3-2. The third period starts and nobody scores to the last 4 minutes where Jesper Foss for the Canes scores, making it 3-3. It looks like it will go to overtime until Stahl for the Canes commits a penalty, giving the Panthers a power play for 57 seconds in regulation. Although the time is minimal, the Panthers are motivated and want to be in the Stanley Cup. In the power play, the Panthers shoot many times. And in the last 5 seconds in the game, Matthew Tkachuk scores, giving the Panthers the win and the series. The Panthers are going to the Stanley Cup. This is a big surprise that was never expected for the Florida Panthers to go so far. This is the second time a wildcard team has went to the playoffs. In the Stanley Cup final, they are playing against the Vegas Golden Knights. The Golden Knights are the best team in the Western Conference and are excellent. They beat Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Dallas. The Panthers are again the underdogs in this series. Will the Panthers be the first wildcard team to win the Stanley Cup final? Let's find out. In Game 1, the game is tight. After 2 periods, it's 2-2. It seems the third will be just as tight, but it was the opposite. The Golden Knights scored 3 goals and win the game 5-2. Not a good start for the Panthers. In game two, it is even worse. The Golden Knights scored two in the first period, two in the second, making them 4-0 down. The Panthers scored two, but it doesn't really matter since Vegas scores three in the same period, giving them the win 7-2. The Panthers need to do something. This is the Stanley Cup final, and they need to give their best they can. In Game 3, it is much closer. Both teams score one in the first period, and Vegas scores one in the second period. The Panthers are down, but they're able to score one in the last 3 minutes to tie the game. The game goes to overtime, and in overtime, the Panthers score, giving them the win. Finally, the Panthers win a game, and it looks like they could come back. In Game 4, it is another close game, but the Golden Knights are able to score the first three goals. The Panthers try the best to come back, but are only able to score two, which unfortunately isn't enough and gives the Golden Knights the win. The Panthers are now down 3-1 in the series. This is not good. They're in the Stanley Cup final and have to do their best they can. They cannot lose like this. They must change their game. Game 5 starts and it doesn't look good. Vegas scores two in the first period. Florida have to play the greatest they ever played to stay alive. In the second period, the Panthers score one to cut the deficit to one, but it doesn't do anything. The Golden Knights scored four more goals after that in the same period. The game is practically over. The Panthers scored two more goals, but it doesn't do anything. The Golden Knights scored three more. These three goals solidified their win. The score is 9-3. There's 5 seconds left. The Panthers give up and look around as they experience the cup final they played in. The time winds down and the game is over. The Florida Panthers lose the Stanley Cup final and their magical season is over. The point leader for the Panthers is Matthew Tkachuk. This was his first season with the Panthers, and it's not expected for Tkachuk to match or get more points than last season, where he got 104 points, but he proved everyone wrong and got 109 points in 79 games. He was a very good player this season and was a key player for this season and the playoffs. He was also the point leader for the playoffs. He had many assists, which he can conclude that he is a great playmaker and knows what he's doing when he has the puck. Next in line is Alexander Barkov with 78 points in 68 games. He had a pretty good season and went well with his partner Tkachuk. He was close to how many assists Tkachuk had. Next is Carter Verhaeghe. He's a very clutch guy that can deliver when he needs to. He has 73 points in 81 games, and he was the leading goal scorer for Florida. Tyler Verhaeghe is Brandon Montour. Montour is a great defenseman that can block and poke check pucks from getting to the goalies. Finally, we have Sam Reinhart, who had 67 points. There are more great players such as Sam Bennett and Eetu Luostarinen. Now, let's move on to the goalies. There are three main goalies that they had: Alex Leon, Spencer Knight, and Sergei Bobrovsky. Now, Alex Leon is not with the Panthers anymore. He is with Detroit. I still talk about him though because he did play the last few games where he had that 6 game winning streak in the end. He was 9-4-2, 2.89 goals out average, and a .914 save percentage. Pretty good. Only played 15 games, but it doesn't really affect that much. But yeah, pretty good stats from Leon. Unfortunate that he is with Detroit. What can you do? That happens in hockey. Next is Spencer Knight, where he played 21 games, had a 9-8-3 record, a 3.18 goals average, and a .901 save percentage. Not the great. I mean, it's pretty decent. It's not too bad. Um, I would have expected better, but to be fair, he only played 21 games. I believe that is just a quarter of games. So that's not a lot. That's not a full or some of the season. But obviously, really not too bad. Next is the main guy, Sergei Bobrovsky. He had 24, 20, and 3 record with a 3.07 goals average and a .91 save percentage. Very similar stats to Spencer Knight. Obviously, a big part of this Panthers team. Bobrovsky, very good goalie. Obviously, stats don't really show it, but the Panthers weren't that good in the regular season. Postseason, he was not too bad. So obviously, in the regular season, he didn't look too bad. Postseason was actually pretty decent. I think Bobrovsky was a great goalie, and I do think he's. I don't want to say he's. I think he's properly rated. I think he's a very good goalie and should stay up there. Let's move on to the team stats. We have Florida Panthers are 22nd and face-off win percentage with a 48.96 face-off win percentage. Okay, it's low. It's a bit on the lower end, but it's not the greatest. But it's okay. Shots against per game. You want me in the low end when it comes to this. Whereas Florida, 11.31 shots per 31.7 shots per game. Again, okay, it's not too bad. Shots per game, you want higher than 31.7 because they had that many shots against. You want more shots for. Whereas Florida is first with 36.8 shots per game. Probably why they're a pretty good offensive team. Defensively, not the greatest, but offensively pretty good. Now, penalty kill, I believe this is their weakness in Florida. Not the, yeah, 76%. Not the greatest penalty kill. As a team like Florida, you do need a very good penalty kill, which is why they allowed many power play goals. Makes sense with this type of penalty kill. Power play, I don't think power play is that bad. Florida is 22.8. Really not too bad. It's pretty decent. Better than the Boston Bruins and the Devils, who both had pretty okay power play and they had a really good regular season. Now, obviously, this in points wise, they only had 92 points, which is one of it wasn't the greatest. It really wasn't the greatest season for the Panthers. But when it came to the playoffs, they showed up. They really did. Sweeping Carolina and beating Boston and Toronto, that's crazy. I would have never imagined that in my playoff video where tried to predict playoffs, I had Boston, Edmonton. I wasn't terribly wrong, but I was wrong. And I had Florida winning I'm not Florida, Boston winning in 5 games. I was completely wrong. That could have happened, but it didn't happen. I can't believe it. Florida, you gotta get props. This was one crazy of a season for them. Now, what's my overall opinion about the Florida Panthers? I think they're a great team that is very clutch. They're the second place wildcard team, and they created the greatest team of all time, the Boston Bruins, in the playoffs. It was unfortunate they couldn't win the Stanley Cup and that they were so close and to become the first wildcard team to do so, but it is what it is. It's hockey. They had a pretty decent season. However, they need to slightly improve in their defense and the penalty kill. But other than that, they aren't too bad. On my last note, I think the Florida Panthers are a great team that's clutch when they are down. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. We have one more episode left of this series, 32 teams. It was good. It was a good series. 32 episodes coming out in the whole summer. Pretty good content. That's a lot of content I posted in that time. Probably will be taking a break after because this is exhausting, but I am willing to do this. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like the video if you like it. You know, it's almost end the series. I saw you guys like the Devils video, which I'm happy because I am a Devils fan. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Like the video if you like it. Comment down below your opinion. If you agree, disagree, I'll reply. And yeah, that's it really. Stay safe. Have a good one. See ya.